No Fish Nick here. It is July 12th and I'm not fishing this weekend. I actually had another obligation this weekend, so I'm just preparing for the KD tournament that's coming up next week. So I figured I'd show you guys one of the rigs I use and a lot of other guys use. It's called it's using copper line. Copper line was being used way back in the 70s and 80s. I remember lake trout fishermen were using it out on the Great Lakes on Lake Superior. But anyway, it became popular again. They introduced to it in like 2006. My friend Terry from Terry's Toy, he had a 300 copper. He let us borrow one time, and man, what a productive rig. So we used that quite a bit, and then we started going to half coppers and stuff. My friend Tony Castle Gilligan, he actually helped me out with my first half coppers. We set up a 120 and a 180, and those things were really productive. If you look back at my old videos, you'll see all the fish we catch on those. Today I'm going to rig up another half copper, a 150, or well, we're going to see how much copper I have. But what I've been using is this. The latest copper I've set up, we're on a Shimano 700 Dakota. These things can reel in real fast, so those things are really awesome. But right now I do have all my Shimanos full. This is the 120 right here. There's 120 feet of copper on this reel, and that's what we're going to rig up. We're going to rig up something similar. This is one of my old Convectors. This one did have 180 feet of copper on it, but I'm changing it out because this is one of my original ones that me and Tony Castle put together, and it's time to change it out. What I'm going to be doing is putting on a backer, which is going to be, my backer is going to be this 40-pound Braid from Cast King. That's, you can use whatever brand you want. I like this one because it's color coded. I can count the colors. Every color is 10 meters, so I can know exactly how much line I put on. Although this reel is a line counter, so I could go off the line counter, but when there's hardly any line on the reel, that line counter is not going to be very accurate. This Andy 30-pound, we'll be putting on a piece of that after the backer, because that will be where you attach your planer board. These are for inline planer board use. So that 30-pound Andy is really tough stuff, and it grips onto the planer boards real nice. So we'll be doing that, and then we'll go with the 45-pound test. This is 45-pound test copper line, and I'm going to, this rod I want to make this into a 150. So we're going to take out the old stuff and put on the new. The rods, you definitely want a rod with big guides, okay, because you're running thick copper line through these big guides, and this rod is actually made for it. It's a Okuma Classic Pro GLT copper lead core rod. It's got really big guides all the way through, and that allows everything, your big knots and swivels and everything go right through the rod and into your reel. And these reels, I actually pry open the opening on some of these reels to allow for swivels and big knots to go right through them. I did not have to do any of that on this big Shimano. Like I said, this I'm setting up as a backup rod, but my main rods right now are these big Dakota, like 700, and I have a 800 where I have a 300 copper on an 800, and they have big openings too, so the copper and any knots or swivels can go right up through, as long as you use the right size swivel. When I use a swivel on the line, I've been liking these 130-pound test VMCs, and I even have a smaller one there that I've used. I'm not sure what the size is at, but I took it off my old rig, so that little rig right there has been going up through into this rod many times. So these work. Step one, on the reel, I like to put a little piece of tape. This is a little piece of Gorilla tape. I cut it down to size where this little piece, one layer of tape on there, gives the line something to bite into. This way, like I said, all this stuff is the way I do it. Everyone else might have different ways, but guys that are asking how I do it, this is the way. Step one, piece of tape on the reel. Step two is going to be threading on 40-pound braid. Okay, for tying the line onto the reel, I go through, and what I usually do is just put a knot, an overhand knot on the line. I cut it right there. Okay, and let's do an overhand knot around the line. Like so. Pull it tight. Now I pull it all tight and let that line cinch down, and then I keep pulling until the line hits that little overhand knot that I put in there, and bam. Okay, that's what I do. And now I am going to count colors. Like I said, this line is metered. Every color is 10 meters. So I'm going to count colors, and I'll know how much line I put on as a backing. One of the things is for spooling up reels, you want to look at which way your reel is winding. So it's winding this way, and that's how I want my spool to be doing the same thing. So I have my spool rigged up to wind the same way, same rotation, so it spools up nicely on the reel. Okay, right now I just hit I got 5 colors of line on here, and that's, we're back to yellow. So you can do it in 5 increments. Like we started with yellow as the first, now I hit yellow again, so we can just say, okay, we got 5 colors. If I keep reeling to the next set of yellow, I'll have 10 colors, so that makes it easier to count. I'm on my 15th color. We're back to my 3rd yellow set, and according to the line counter, I'm almost at my 1,000 foot, but in reality I'm only at 492 feet. So that's why I don't rely on that counter for accurate measurements. I just hit 30 colors, which is 980 feet of line. So now I'm going to put on my leader, my 30-pound test leader. And actually that's not even a leader, that's just for a good place for planer boards to grab onto. Okay, I just tied the braid to the 30-pound test Andy, and I just used a Alberto knot, it's called, where you loop the amount of filament. You take the braid, you go around 5 times one way, and then you go around 5 times the back way, put it back through the loop, pull it tight. Sorry I didn't show you, but there's a lot of good videos on YouTube on the Alberto knot. You could also use the FG. You could also use Albright. I believe the Albright is the one I've used in the past, but I kind of like the easiness of that Alberto, so I'm trying that out. For the swivel, I'm just doing a Palmer knot, which is a doubled up line through the loop, and you just do an overhand, pull it tight, and put this part through the loop. It's a pretty simple knot. Most fishermen know it. It's simple. And then you lick it and cinch it down and pull it tight. Okay. The copper line is not marked at all, and like I said, I don't really trust my reel counter, so I actually measured off from this block to a marker in my yard is 50 feet. So what I'll do is once I rig up my swivel to this, I'll run out my spool out to that 50-foot marker, and each time I reel it in, it'll be 50 feet. Okay, we have our shrink tubing on the line. going to put the copper through the swivel, and all we do is do a haywire twist, which is you pull the copper up like that, run it back like and you just twist it. You just go just like that, and you keep working it up. So we run it back and forth like that, and you just give it a whirl, a twist. Okay, actually we should go the other way, because we're actually I'm going to go back the other way because we're actually untwisting the line. So I'm going to start over, and we're going to twist it this way so we don't take the twist out of the line itself. So we'll start over. It's real simple stuff. Copper is real easy to work with. Okay, start again. Through the line. Like that, but this time I want to try going the opposite way we were. I don't want to take the twist out of the copper line itself, so we'll try going this way this time. And a haywire twist is real simple. All you're doing is trying to make a a straight line, and then doing a twist. And you get about a dozen twists in there, and you're done. Okay, and the last couple I'm just going to run it straight around the main line, cut it, like so, tighten it up with my thumb, and that's all a haywire twist is. You want to get the shrink tube over the frayed end here, like so, so it goes through your guides real nice and doesn't open up on you. So be careful of your monofilament. You don't want to heat up your monofilament. Look at that, all done. Like I said, that's what I use. Works for me. You know, if you got better ideas, put them in my comments. But right there is this is my planer board line, swivel to copper, and I'm gonna I'm gonna probably make a 150 copper right here. Okay, I only had 75 feet of copper left in that spool, so this rig is only going to be a 75 feet of copper. So this is going to be a highline rod for it'll probably go down 75 feet of copper, trolled at like 2 miles an hour. I'm going to guess it's going to be 20 feet deep. So I've heard like at 2 miles an hour, if you have like 30 feet of copper, it usually goes down about 8 feet. About 8 feet deep every 30 feet is what I've heard in the past. So, all right. Okay, we're getting closer to the business end. Now I'm going to use the fluorocarbon line, 25-pound test. I'm going to use another swivel. Same deal, polymer knot. It's one of the strongest knots you can do. That's why I use it. Moisten and tight. There we go. call them or not. I'm going to do just like I did earlier, haywire twist to that swivel, 15 feet to the swivel and spoon. So okay, actually, because I really don't want a 75, that's kind of small. I have like 5 color lead cores that can handle that depth, get to that depth. So I'm gonna unspool this, put it back on here, and I'm gonna put the 150 copper back on. And so this is all rigged. Look at got my swivel on there with the haywire twist. I had that heated up real nice, and I actually pinched right here so it actually fit the copper real nice. The heat shrink tube, you know, had a nice swivel there. That would have been a slick setup. Well, it's still going to be a slick setup because I'm going to take this 75 off, put it back on a spool, keep that as a backup. I'll write on there 75 feet of copper, and I'm going to go back to this. I know this is 150 feet of copper on this spool, and that's what I'm going to rig up. Okay, making a little spooling rig. You give a Youper some duct tape and a power drill, and you'd be amazed what you can do. Enough tension. There we go. Little duct tape and a power drill. Look at that, wrapped up pretty quick here. Okay, there we go. Cut that off and we'll redo it with 150 copper. Okay, we'll just keep this in the boat as a backup for like if the fish are up at 20-foot depth range. I can always attach that to a rod, and we'll have a 75-foot copper ready to rock and roll. Nice steady. Okay, that's working the way we want it. $150 feet of copper, filled that spool right up. I couldn't even add any more, so that's it. Okay, I have my 15 feet of fluorocarbon line. Now, you know, fluorocarbon line is really abrasion resistant and tough, but one of the main reasons I think it works so good for leaders like this, it sinks. So your line sinks down instead of floats up. And I believe that has something to do with it, why fluorocarbon is such a good leader also. Not just because it's invisible underwater, I think it's because it sinks instead of floats. Okay, this Convector 45, it's filled, you can't even put any more. I probably put a little too much. So I probably should have not put so much backing. I put 30 colors on here. I should have probably went with like 26. And then the copper. So if you're going to do the same thing that I just did on a 45 Convector, Okuma Convector, I would not go with as much backing as I did, because we're at where I am getting some it is hitting a little bit of line is touching. So anyway, don't go with so much backing as I did. Go with like 26 colors, and if you're going to go with a 150, if you get the Shimano like 700s, this one was a 120. There's 120 feet of copper on here, and there's still room to go. So that the Dakota can hold a little more than this Convector 45. So anyway, that's done. This is going to be a 150 copper, and it's maxed out. I maxed out the spool. Got that 15-foot leader on here. Just going to put a high quality swivel on the end, and that's going to be it for today. Okay, that's setting up a copper rod the way I do it. You know, there's a lot of different ways to do it. That's just the way I do it. The 15-foot lead, I used to run like 50-foot leaders on the end, And my friend Reed, Red Rider from Milwaukee, he recommended me going with shorter leaders, and when I did, it was true. I got more bites with the shorter leads, the 15-foot, than when I was using a 50-foot on the end of the copper. I'm not sure why, but he recommended it. I did it, and it sure seemed to work. So I haven't changed. I've been using that 15-foot leader for years.